The moment Ava Delaney walked into the sunlit cafe that Saturday morning, she could already feel the weight of disappointment pressing down on her shoulders. Life had a way of surprising her, but lately it seemed all her surprises were bitter. Her long auburn hair fell in gentle waves over a mustard-colored sweater, and she smoothed it nervously as she glanced at the small table near the window. Across the room, a man fidgeted with a coffee cup, his eyes darting around like he wasn't quite sure what he had gotten himself into. This was a blind date, a last-ditch attempt set up by her over-enthusiastic co-worker who insisted, "He's perfect for you." But Ava was skeptical. After everything she had endured as a single mother, trusting someone else to step into her life was terrifying. Before this story unfolds, if you believe in kindness and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share and subscribe to our channel, Touch of Kindness. Your support spreads hope and inspires others to believe in the beauty of unexpected connections. Ava's date, a man named Carter Hayes, was a single dad raising a 6-year-old boy, Theo, on his own. Ava didn't know much about him, except that he had a quiet confidence and a warm smile. What she didn't anticipate was how the cafe's quiet morning would turn into a stage for laughter that pierced her very soul. As she approached the table, her heels clicking softly against the polished wooden floor, Carter looked up. The first thing she noticed was his nervous smile, but the second was a glimmer of awkward charm. He tried to juggle his coffee cup and Theo's small backpack, and it toppled over, spilling coffee onto the table and smudging a corner of her notebook. "Oh my gosh!" Ava gasped, trying not to shriek in frustration. "Are you always this coordinated?" Her words had more bite than she intended, and the cafe's few patrons glanced their way. Carter's cheeks flushed crimson, and he opened his mouth, then closed it again, fumbling for something witty to say. The silence stretched just long enough for a soft, almost imperceptible laugh to escape from Ava, and then she realized she had to breathe. The day was starting badly, but maybe it wasn't a disaster yet. And then, in the corner of the cafe, he appeared. The man Ava had briefly met at a work conference, an acquaintance who had casually mentioned his position as a CEO of a growing tech company, Nathaniel Cross. His eyes, sharp and discerning, swept across the room, and when they landed on Ava, recognition sparked. He smiled politely, though his gaze lingered on the scene of Carter awkwardly managing Theo. There was something in Nathaniel's laugh that felt like judgment. That subtle, almost condescending chuckle made Ava's stomach twist. "Really?" Nathaniel whispered to a colleague, his eyes never leaving her table. "You set her up with him?" Ava felt a hot flush of embarrassment. The laughter wasn't loud, but it carried the weight of a subtle dismissal she couldn't ignore. Carter noticed it too, and his hand hovered protectively over Theo, his jaw tightening. But rather than retreating, he lifted his chin and gave a polite nod, a quiet acknowledgement that he wasn't intimidated. There was something in that gesture, a confidence forged by hardship and determination that made Ava's chest tighten with curiosity. As the date continued, Carter's quiet charm began to show. He told stories about small victories raising Theo, the struggles and triumphs of balancing work, parenting, and keeping their little home warm with love and laughter. Ava listened, captivated by his authenticity. She realized she had been so conditioned to judge people based on appearances, status, and wealth that she had nearly overlooked the essence of a person, their heart. Life had not been kind to Carter. He had lost his wife in a car accident 2 years ago and had thrown himself into the whirlwind of fatherhood and work. His hands bore faint scars from DIY repairs around their small apartment, and his eyes sometimes welled up when he spoke about Theo's little milestones. Ava felt a pang of empathy, realizing that this man who had been laughed at by someone else had endured unimaginable pain and was still capable of such tender love. She found herself laughing softly, the tension from the morning easing. By now the cafe was bathed in gentle daylight streaming through tall windows, and Ava felt a strange warmth in the air, as if the universe had conspired to soften this moment. But life has a way of testing the quietest happiness. As they left the cafe, Theo skipping happily beside them, the sounds of the city grew louder and more chaotic. A screech of tires, a shout, and the sudden thud of a body hitting the pavement turned the world into a blur. A cyclist had lost control and was hurtling straight toward a small child chasing a ball into the street. Without thinking, Carter lunged. grabbing the boy and shoving him out of harm's way, but in the process, he twisted awkwardly, hitting the curb. Ava's heart froze. The scene was chaotic, but Carter's training, instinct, and physical dexterity, hidden talents she had not yet known about, came to the forefront. He managed to push both children to safety, catching his balance at the last second, before crumpling onto the sidewalk, breathing hard. A crowd had gathered, murmurs rising in a wave around them. Ava rushed forward, her hands shaking as she touched Carter's shoulder. "Are you okay?" she asked, fear and relief battling in her chest. Carter smiled weakly, brushing dust from his sweater, his heart hammering not just from the near accident, but from the sudden intensity of the moment. Theo, oblivious to the full gravity, hugged him tightly. Ava looked up and for the first time noticed Nathaniel's eyes, wide with astonishment. He had witnessed everything, the strength, courage, and hidden skills of a man he had lightly laughed at earlier. As they walked away, Ava's heart pounded, not just from the near tragedy, but from the realization that she had been wrong to judge too quickly. Carter was more than his title, more than the clumsiness of spilled coffee. He was a man who could protect, who could act decisively in moments of crisis, and whose heart overflowed with love for his son. Ava felt tears prick her eyes, a mix of gratitude and something deeper stirring in her chest. The following weeks were a gentle unfolding of connection. Ava and Carter spent long mornings at the park, afternoons baking cookies in Theo's small kitchen, and evenings talking about hopes, dreams, and past regrets. Every day revealed a new layer. Carter's quiet strength, his clever problem-solving, and the way he made life feel lighter, even in mundane moments. Ava, in turn, began to let her walls down, showing Carter the vulnerabilities she had guarded for so long. She shared the small disappointments of work, the challenges of family responsibilities, and even the quiet loneliness that had accompanied her since the death of her sister 5 years prior. Carter listened without judgment, never laughing, never patronizing, only giving warmth and a steady presence. One sunny Saturday, as they walked hand in hand through a local farmer's market, Theo ran ahead to inspect a stand of vibrant pumpkins. Ava glanced at Carter, feeling a strange flutter in her chest. There was something magical about how he interacted with the world. He noticed the small things, the unnoticed details, and treated every encounter with patience and care. She realized that the laughter she had felt at the café weeks ago had been nothing compared to the deep, resonant joy she now felt in his presence. Carter's hands were strong, capable, yet gentle, and she felt a strange security simply being near him. And then came the unexpected. A sudden commotion at the market, a gas leak from a nearby food stand, sent people running in panic. Without hesitation, Carter grabbed Theo, shielding him from the chaos. Ava froze, her instincts screaming fear, but Carter's calm decisiveness guided her. He moved through the crowd, found a safe corner, and checked on everyone around, directing others to safety while keeping Theo close. Once again, his hidden skills honed from years of problem-solving, responsibility, and quiet determination, saved lives in a moment of crisis. Ava's eyes filled with tears, her heart swelling with gratitude, awe, and something deeper than she could name. In that moment, Nathaniel Cross appeared again, observing from the periphery. This time, there was no condescending laugh, only admiration, even reverence. He had underestimated Carter once, and now he was witnessing the full spectrum of his courage and character. Ava, holding Theo's small hand, turned to Carter, feeling a warmth that transcended words. The man she had once doubted, laughed at, and misjudged had proven that true strength often hides behind humility, and real love reveals itself in action rather than appearance. Weeks later, as the golden light of late afternoon spilled into Ava's apartment, she sat beside Carter on the sofa, Theo asleep in a small bed across the room. She traced the lines of his hand absent-mindedly, marveling at the journey that had brought them here. They had started as strangers, stumbled through awkward moments, survived minor accidents, and now had found a bond built on trust, respect, and love. Ava realized that life's twists, its harsh judgments, and even the laughter of a distant observer could not define the value of a person